Okay. And welcome everyone. I'm going to start by sharing my screen. And with the slides. All right. Can everyone see my slides?
Yes.
Great. All right. Just make sure I can see everyone's chat as well before we get started. Bear with me. Okay, I'm not sure if that's going to pull up or not. So Christina, maybe if you can see the chat, you can help address questions today. Okay, thanks. All right, everyone, thanks for being here. There it is. I want to first start, most of you know me, but if I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you yet, I'm Stacy Shaw. I am the Youth Services Consultant for one of the two Youth Services Consultants for Idaho Commission for Libraries and the lead coordinator for the My First Books program. Christina Taylor is our projects coordinator. She is going to be co-coordinating with me this year and eventually taking over more of the My First Books logistics and program coordination in the future. So she is going to be joining us today, and you'll probably be hearing from her throughout the year as well as from me. And I want to also give a big shout out to Tina Schilling. She is the support staff person who's assigned to coordinate this program with us. She counts out all the orders every month and ships everyone their books and their materials. And we really could not do this program without Tina. So huge shout out to Tina. You'll be receiving emails from her as well. So make sure on your email settings that you have libraries.idaho.gov whitelisted or safe listed so that our communication with you today can, or throughout the year can get through. Also, if there are other people that will be doing the program that you would like to receive the communication, make sure you send me their name and email, and I will add that to my distribution list. I want to just say congratulations for participating this year because we had a record number of requests. This year, as you can see, in past years, we have had lots of libraries participate. This year we have 39, which is almost the top amount that we've ever had participate. But the record is in the number of children that we're serving this year. We're going to be able, normally our budget allows us to serve about 3,800 children. We are able this year, due to some things that we were not able to do with our budget last year, to increase that number to right around 4,600. So we're going to be purchasing a lot of books and sending a lot of books out to you this year. And that, again, thank you to Tina and for Christina for ordering all the books so far. It was really competitive this year. I had to use a very weighted, complicated rubric. So thanks to all of you who wrote great need statements and that will be joining us this year to get books in the hands of kids.
Thank you.
So many of you, I gave you the option of requesting the updated contents, handouts and things from us, or just printing them yourself from the website. Hopefully you received this table of contents sheet with your package that had your calendars in it. Everything in blue is the handouts that were updated. So when you do go to our website, which I'll show you in just a second, make sure that you are printing off those things in blue, especially because they have updated links and other information. Most of these are updated links. As many of you noticed, we switched to a different website platform. We have a new website from last year, and so all of those links from anything previous to this year are no longer active. So make sure that you get all of that printed, and you can find everything at this direct link under the Read to Me page and My First Books. all your handouts, all the templates. If you need to request additional books, which we'll talk about in a little bit, all of the things, your final report, extra bookworms, all those things will be at that link. So make sure you bookmark that. And I want to just remind everybody of what our outcomes are for the program, because many times when we get a question, if you go back to the outcomes, you can usually answer that question yourself, and if not, you can always give us a shout. So we know we're trying to increase kids' access to books and improving their home libraries. We're targeting underserved families, and we're trying to get those families library cards whenever we can. We're trying to increase early literacy skills directly, but we're also trying to make our parents aware of what their kids need to, should know and be able to do before they start school. We want to be able to give them resources to work with their kids at home. And we want to help you to strengthen your community partnerships and really develop that face-to-face relationship with your community and with your partners and the kids that you're serving. We had some questions this year about your community partner, especially in terms of Head Start and early Head Start. We want to remind everyone that we are targeting partners that serve the most low income or underserved kids. And I really did look at that with your partners this year. We were trying to pick those ones when we can only have a few partners each. We're really trying to target those kiddos who are unlikely to have books in their home or have access to books. So with the Early Head Start, I may have contacted you. If I didn't, and you're working with Early Head Start, I went online and looked at a lot of your partners and their programs. But I'm still not 100% sure about those Early Head Start programs and whether or not they take place on site or whether they're home visiting programs. So we are not going to work with Early Head Start family or Early Head Start programs where they have their staff people going into the homes, because that takes you out of the equation, and that's a requirement for the program, is to have that face-to-face contact with the library. So unless you're going to go out to all their home visits every month and accompany them while you're giving them the books, that Early Head Start program will not be eligible. And we can talk about other options or things. So make sure when you are meeting with your partner that you're clarifying whether or not the Early Head Start program is an on-site program or if it's a home visitation program. Any questions about that before we move on? Okay. And just a reminder, we always give you an updated checklist. This will keep you on track throughout the year. So those of you who contact us in the spring and say, oops, I forgot to apply for next year, this checklist should be able to help you. It'll go through every month, and it'll remind you when the application for next year is due and the final report's due and all the other requirements. So stick that up by your computer or put it in your plan book or however you want to do that. And then some of you I know are not using the calendars that we create for you, but every year on the final report we ask how useful this is, and the majority of you did reply that these calendars were either useful or very useful to you. So we are continuing to do them. I say we, but Christina actually did the majority of the calendars this year, so thanks to Christina. We sent these to you according to one per library, and then however many classrooms you told us on your application that were on your site. If you need additional calendars, we do have a few extras here, both library and partner calendars. The library one's green, the partner one has the pink. They are a little bit different. They still have the same books, but they have different helpful hints and tips and things in there. So pay attention to those. It'll also tell you things like when ICFL's closed, when to expect your books, and some other events that are coming up that we want to make sure you know about. So you can request those. They are also on our website as a PDF. They don't print as nicely as the ones we have from our printer, but you can certainly print them off and staple them together. So, along with those calendars, as you know, each month will tell you what book we're giving out for which age group and the skill. Just a reminder that we have started waiting until October to do our first distribution. We tried that as a pilot last year. With the exception of just a couple of you, most of you actually appreciated having that extra month of September to sort of get things settled and meet with your partner and kind of get everything situated. But because we didn't want to decrease the number of books, we give out our May book, our May title, but then we also send you enough books so that all of the kids can select an additional book on their own. So that kind of takes care of that self-selection piece that we know is super important as well. And again, with the exception of a few of you who thought that was a little chaotic, most of you seem to like that. Any thoughts or comments about that May distribution from anybody?
Sounds good to me.
Did everyone have enough, feel like they had enough selection? Okay. Crickets? Okay. And then Debbie shared that she still does a story time in September, and just without that book. And that's great. If you can get in there and do that story time and start establishing that routine in September, by all means, please do that if you can. I also, I say this every year, and I just want to reiterate that when you receive your shipment of books, please open them up, count them out, check your inventory, and make sure that you have exactly the number that you need. Make sure that you have the right titles, and also just make sure that there's been no like water damage or something like that to your books, because that does happen sometimes as well. If you inventory them right when we send them to you and something's off, we have time to send you additional books. If you wait until a couple days before your distribution to open that box and you don't have what you need, that makes it hard. So please inventory as soon as they arrive at your library. I also want to tell you, if you have your calendar in front of you, go ahead and flip to May. This happens occasionally where we choose the books, we double check the inventory, we're good, we send this to the printer. But this year we found out, after all was said and done, that we were not going to be able to get Tiki Tiki Tembo for the kindergarten title. May is the summer reading theme, which is a folk and fairy tale theme. So all of those books are kind of those traditional tales. They are dropping the title, Tiki Tiki Tembo. They said having to do with content. We're not really sure what that means. I personally loved that story when I was little. Loved my mom reading that to me. But we're going to go ahead and replace that title with Seven Blind Mice by Ed Young. It's a Caldecott Honor book. It's very colorful, and if you're familiar with the book, it's a nice kind of a fable. So any questions about that title? You'll have to fix that on your partner's calendars, maybe cross it off, write it in, print off some address labels, stick them on there, something. And we apologize for that. There just really wasn't anything we could do at that point. Hey, any questions? Alrighty. How many of you know Seven Blind Mice? Have read that one before? Okay. All right. If you don't like the calendar, or you're not using the calendar, that doesn't work for you, we just want to remind you that you are welcome to create your own handout for your partner. This is something that Beth at Idaho Falls does, where she just lists out all of their visit dates and times, and then gives them kind of a summary, a one-sheet summary of each visit and the theme. So that might work better for you. And again, please feel free to use whatever works. And we do just want to remind you that we need to be sending that letter of introduction home with the first distribution, whether it's that first class distribution in October. Everyone should get a letter explaining what the program is. I really want the parents to understand that these books are not meant for the child to read independently. for reading practice. These books are meant for the adult to be sitting down side by side with the child, reading to that child and sharing those early literacy skills. So that is in this template. You can write your own letter. You can make it say anything that you like, but please do make sure that you include those goals of the My First Books program in your letter as well. You can put this on your own letterhead. You can put additional information. You can put library card information, anything that you want to include. You're welcome to use a Word template on our website. And then we also want to remind you that when you get new children that join the program throughout the year, please give them a letter with their first distribution as well. So if you have your probably most of you have, a tote bag or a rolly cart or something that's just for My First Books that has, your folder with your letters and, your storytime materials and maybe some extra books in case you get those kiddos who show up. It's always good to be able to give them a book, even if it's not the book that month, to give them some kind of a book and a letter so that they know they'll be getting those books every month. If you don't have, a handful of extra books to kind of keep for that purpose, just give us a shout and we'll send you like a bonus pack or something that you can just keep along with your rolly cart or your tote. Does that make sense? Do they have any questions about that, or does anyone have any tips or things that they did? For the letter? Okay. All right. Looking at the chat for a second here, it looks like most everyone liked that book selection, and the kids loved getting the 2 books, so that's great. Okay, again, if you find that you've got kids joining the program, and I would say 98% of you have to use this form throughout the year, please do use the request form. Please don't email me and tell me what if you're short or if you need additional books, because if I'm on the road, there's not really a lot I can do about it. But if you fill out this form, then it goes straight to Tina, and I get a copy, and this year Christina will also get a copy. And also Tina's backup, Tiffany, gets a copy. So between the 4 of us, somebody can take care of your request pretty much immediately. If you're emailing me, I can't make any guarantee. So do use the request form. Again, on the request form, it's going to ask you now with your additional kids, if you're using it because you had an increase in your enrollment, it's going to ask you what your new enrollment total is. Remember that new enrollment total is not just for one of your partners. It's your total number of books for that age group that Tina is now going to send you in your box. So I'll have some more directions about how to use that form if you've never used it. I need to update the little instruction sheet still. But we can help work you through it too if it doesn't make sense. So do use that form. We'll be sending your parent surveys in, usually with your March distribution, which is sometime in February. That way, those of you who are giving this out at parent-teacher conferences in March can use it and get handed out then. Again, we just encourage you to get the most back that you can. We understand that is kind of a hard thing. If you can only get a few back, that's fine, but that's something to talk about with your partner, is how to increase the number of surveys that get returned every year. And then a reminder that the final summary report, which is online, now allows you to go in and do pieces and parts of your report. You click the button that you're not done with the report. You click where it says, I've only filled out a few sections, I'm not done, and we'll finish at a later date, and hit submit. Then you get a copy of what you've submitted emailed back to you. On that email that comes back to you, you'll see an edit link. Save that email, put it in a folder in your Outlook or however you want to do that. But that is the link that you'll use to go back in and continue filling out your report later in the year. if you are wanting to work on it in bits and pieces. If you lose that email, I do end up getting a copy of what you're submitting each time you hit the submit button, so I can always send it to you, but it would be great if you would just hold on to that. I think people liked that function last year. I'm seeing some nodding. Being able to go in, a lot of people went in after their family event or their early literacy event and filled that part out first, and then filled the rest of the report out at a later date. Also, we ask that you share one anecdote with us from throughout the year. So, if you are coming back and you've had just something really cool happen, that would be really a good time to fill out part of that report and put that anecdote in at that time, or at least just write it down so you have it for the end of the year, because it's really hard to go back and try to think of an anecdote of impact, how the program made an impact on a child or their family. Any questions about the evaluation piece? We're also, I think that partner survey is going to get updated this year, so I'll let you know. And then that link will be on our website as well for your partners to fill out. I want to remind everybody to read the cover letter that comes with your books. I can tell who hasn't read their cover letter when I get emails asking questions that were in the cover letter. So, I know we're all busy. It's cool. But skim and scan that, because not only do we provide some links and things for maybe that might be helpful for story times, but we tell you about things that are coming up. Hey, don't forget to register for the Read to Me Rendezvous, or hey, we're going to open up the applications for next year pretty soon. Here's where you can find that kind of thing. So do take a look at that. And then remember that I send this electronically once everyone's books have shipped, so that you can just click on the links, the hyperlinks, and you'll have it there. Any communication that I send you or that Christina sends you in the subject header should start with MFB, My First Books, just an MFB : and then whatever the subject heading is. I do that because I know you get a lot of emails from us, and that way, if you're going back and doing a search through your email, you can put in MFB and it should come up that way. And with our new website, from our homepage, circle or click on that early literacy Read to Me icon, and then down to My First Books, and you'll be able to find everything you need. I'm actually going to clean up that My First Books page a little bit. When it migrated over, it was a little odd. So that's on my list to kind of clean that up and make it just a little bit more user-friendly for you. But that's where you can find all your handouts to print off if you said you were going to print those yourself. Okay, and for those of you who are working with Spanish-speaking families, we have these resources available. One thing that was a little unclear last year is if you wanted us to print bookworms for you. So I want to just reiterate this year that if you want us to print them for you, you need to let me know, and then we'll just put that in our spreadsheet. And I kind of would prefer if you need less than like 10 bookworms, that you print those yourself. If you just can't, and that's kind of a hardship, you have like the world's oldest printer, which I know some of you do. We can print them for you, but if it's just a few of them, it would be great if you just go ahead and print those yourself. In the time it takes Tina to print a few and put them in an envelope and send, we'd rather wait till you had like at least 10 or so. But we are more than happy to print those. We had someone, some comments from Final Reports that the request was to get those printed in color. We had been doing them in black and white, so we are going to do them in color this year for you. When you request bookworms in Spanish, because you have Spanish-speaking families, still do give them the English one and then also the Spanish one. If you need the Spanish bookworms before we're able to send them to you, they should be on the website. I don't like to put up the next month's titles while the current month is still active. It just makes it harder to find those bookworms. So if you need them in advance of when they're up on the website, just email me or Christina, and we can send you the file if you're printing them yourself. Also, just a reminder about the Spanish translations. We don't make those public. Those are sent directly to you with the electronic version of the cover letter. They're just attached as PDFs. Again, they're not to be used for any other purpose other than this program. Please don't use them for story times or anything else. Make sure that they're only to be used so that our My First Books families who are Spanish speakers can have that translation and can read that book with their child in Spanish. Okay, so here's where we're going to turn it over to we have tons of recommendations and tips that are in all the handouts. If it's been a few years since you've read through those handouts, it might be a good time to look at them again. Just make sure that this is all kinds of things that might just make them so check them out. I'm also going to remind you to mute your mic if you are not muted so that we can cut down on the amount of background noise here. And does anyone have any tips or recommendations about library cards, getting library cards to families, forgiving fines, anything like that with library cards? Anybody that wants to unmute and share? Something that worked really well, or an event that they went to where they were able to issue a lot of cards? Okay. Remember, I will ask you on the final report how many library cards you issued as a result of the program, and as well as if you issued any out-of-district cards and how you dealt with the fee for those out-of-district cards. We know that you can't always track and you don't always know for sure if a family got a card because they were part of the program, but do the best you can with your estimates. That's fine. Tips for working with your partner. Debbie, in the chat box, mentions that she calls the teacher once a month just to kind of get an update with how many kids are there, if they've had any new kids. That's great. Erica has said that they go to family reading nights at the schools and sign families up for cards there. That's great. In your handouts, there's a whole handout on library cards and tracking those. For instance, some of the ideas are putting those applications on different colored paper, or if there's a comment box on your application, that kind of thing. So there's some good tips in there about being able to track those. Okay. I know it's not always possible to track, but if you can, like I said, that would be great. Any tips and recommendations for how you do book distributions or story times? Little tips of the trade that have ended up working well for you? It's all kind of different in terms of how much time you have, and I know some of you only have a few minutes. We were talking about this when we did the face-to-face meeting up in Coeur d'Alene, that some folks have like 15 minutes, which is enough time to read the book and get the books passed out. And then some people said that they had as much as like 45 minutes. So lots of difference in your story times and what you do. Does anyone want to share? Okay, as people are typing to share about distributions, Laura said that on library card applications, bright colored paper actually helps more than you'd think. And Clay says that putting a library card application on the back of the intro letter can help. That's a great idea if you can do that. I know some of you have kind of online applications only, so whatever you can do is great. How about with letting the parents know that the books are coming home, other than a big old fat stamp on someone's forehead? Anything that you found works? Don't be shy. Debbie says there's a poem that the kids like. They make a balloon with their mouth and it pops, and they make the sound with their mouth. That's fun. It's a good icebreaker. Most of you realize that the first few distributions are a little more challenging than the distributions you do at the end of the year. A lot of these kiddos have never sat for a story time. So Debbie Gigi wants to know about the poem. If you send that to me, I can, or if you have a link, you can put in the chat box. That would be great. If not, you can send it to me and I'll share it when I send you your first cover letter. All right. This space is really for you guys to share what's working and other little tips. So you can continue to use the chat box, or you can just jump in and unmute yourself and share that too. So in the next couple weeks, hopefully you are meeting with your partner. And I really do want you to work through this, this whole plan, because it gives you those, all those little things to talk about with your partner. So working through not only your distribution dates, but whether or not you need the Spanish resources, if you need the bookworms printed, that kind of thing, and to talk about your early literacy event. That's going to be key, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Make sure that when you're talking with your partner, you know what their policy is for photographs. If they have a blanket policy that the parents sign for the whole year, basically saying that their child's image can be used in educational or publicity purposes, just make sure that you know that ahead of time. Always good to take pictures of kiddos from the back if you're not sure. But your first step is going to be to contact your partner, confirm the enrollment numbers, because I'm sure that they've changed from what you submitted in the spring. I will be sending you an email that just reminds you what you sent in, what we have for you right now, and all of the partners that you said you're working with. So we'll send you an email, and then you'll just reply to me with that email and fill in those blanks, just like you did when I asked what trainings you would attend, and you kind of marked and answered within the body of the email. So I'll be sending you that email. I'm hoping to get that out today. And if not today, then it'll be early next week. So please use this form when meeting with your partner. You can find it on the website. I think it's even more important these days to share with the public what you're doing, and so that they understand that libraries are more than just checking out books. There's been some discussion lately about the value of libraries in the state. And the more that we can get the word out about all of the really great things that you're doing, the more support we're going to have for everybody. So we will have that press release template that you can use. Be sure to take some photos and send them to me, or use them on your Facebook page, or if you've got a library newsletter. Also check with your partner and see if they have a newsletter. If you're working with a district, many times they have a district newsletter. Write up a little blurb that goes home with that newsletter. If you've got a town paper, or any other, if there's like a Head Start newsletter, anything like that, it's really great if you could send a little blurb and some pictures about getting books in the hands of kids, and also use that as an opportunity to get parents to understand why it's so important that kids have access to books in order to learn to read. We just need to really start pulling together and getting those important messages out there. And this is a great program to help you do that. You also might consider taking some of your trustees with you here and there, your library trustees. Invite them on a visit, maybe not your first one. Wait till you got things down a little bit. Take your trustees with you so that they can see what you're doing. If check with your library director. Maybe you want to invite one of your local policymakers, a school board member or a legislator to go on a distribution with you so that they can see what great things the library is doing besides just checking out books to patrons. So be kind of thinking, now that you guys have, most of you have done the program at least a year, be thinking of ways now that you can create that advocacy piece and that public awareness piece as well. And I love your photos, so please do keep sending those in to me when you can. I didn't put them on today's slides because we're a shortened version, but in my trainings with the other two groups, I used a lot of your photos in those training slides, and everyone oohed and awed, and they just love to see those little kiddos smiling with the books. It's nice. All right, is there any questions so far? It looks like Debbie says that each month she uses those stickers that say that the kids receive their book. That's a template that's on our website. And they put them on their shirt or coat. That's great. That's exactly how they should be used. So I'm glad that you do that. It's nice. The parents do want to know when those books are coming home. Okay, anything up to this point? You must all be eating your lunch and your mouths are just super full of yummy sandwiches. Okay, let's talk early literacy event. Remember that you can choose to do a parent workshop, a family event, or both. I was surprised at the number of reports that came in last spring where the library actually did both of these. So that was kind of nice to see, but you don't have to do both. You can choose one or the other. Every time I read reports, it's clear that the events that have been the most successful are those in which the partner is actively collaborating. The partner's planning it with you. They're helping to get their folks there. It's convenient, and it's not just you hosting an event trying to get the families to show up. Did anyone have a really successful event that wants to share kind of what they did and how they got folks there? I won't ask if anyone wants to share an event that bombed, but okay, again, these factors all come into play when you're planning your events. Springtime, when spring sports start, is not a super great time. Fall can be a great time if you are building on something the school is already doing. Otherwise, it can be kind of a busy time as well. And then wintertime, I think 3 of you said your events got canceled due to snow. So I don't know that there is a perfect time. But again, the more you work with your partner, if you're working with Head Start, they do have the Head Start family nights, but what we're seeing is that just because they have the night and they're agreeing to let you come and speak at that event, that's not as successful in getting the folks to come as if the partner kind of builds that up and says, hey, be sure to come to the parent night this month. The library's coming. We'll have free books, and kind of really build that up. Gigi says DIA is a great time to partner with to partner and hold the event. And for DIA, Christina has changed that now from being a book-based program to a micro grant of a couple $100. So that is something that you might think about this year if you're doing a DIA event. A lot of you are doing Family Reading Week. We'll talk about that in just a minute too, share the theme. The Jumpstart program that we have that has traditionally sort of been used for kindergarten registration, I want to point out that that is a year-round program. And that program is for any time you're going and having that face-to-face contact with the parents and getting that message across about what kids should know and be able to do before they start school. So if you're going to go to a Head Start parent night, that is a great opportunity to apply for the Jumpstart materials and hand those Jumpstart materials out. Christina has some wonderful handouts now that are, she's got a bingo board with activities, and she's got other handouts in both English and Spanish that you can request for any event. You don't have to just do those handouts with Jumpstart. They're on our order form, on our order site now. So there's lots of those kinds of things that you can be pulling in. But for a Head Start parent night, try to kind of build it up. You're going to get free books, that kind of thing, to make sure the parents are actually coming. Christina tells us DIA is a $400 microgrant for up to 12 libraries. So if you're interested in doing that, keep that in mind. That application will be in February. It's not a very complicated application. And there's a final report you have to do, but other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Anybody else have a good suggestion for a parent event? This is kind of the hardest part, I think, for folks, especially those of you who say, we planned this great event with all these great centers and nobody came. One thing that we're hearing more and more of is that like raffles are great, but what is really motivating people in terms of raffles are gas cards. So if you can work with your local gas stations or stinker store or someplace like that that might be able to donate, you know, a $25 gift card for gas, or a couple of those, that right now is something that can really make a difference. Okay, Clay says, oh, if your school does lights on after school, that's something that our friends at the Idaho Out of School Network help put on too. It's a great time to partner to reach those underserved populations. If you need information about lights on after school, we can try to find that link for you. You can just actually Google lights on after school, Idaho too. Probably come up with the Idaho Out of School Network's website. Okay, thanks for all those suggestions. Okay. Family Reading Week this year, if you are looking to coincide your early literacy event with family reading, is Adventure Awaits. This theme sort of was sparked by someone who was suggesting we do something for the 75th anniversary of the release of the Wizard of Oz movie this fall. We didn't want to quite go Wizard of Oz, but we chose a theme that would be flexible enough and let you do something with that if you were interested. This theme is kind of, reading takes you anywhere, from geography to fantasy to, all kinds of fun things. I think it's a really open, flexible theme. We think Ben did a great job on the art, and Christina and Jennifer are creating really great resources for the toolkit that will be online. So be sure to check that out. There'll be some spot art available for you, as well as just this poster, and lots of great fun suggestions for activities. So if you want to register your event, that'll open September 15th, and the first 100 libraries will receive some books and materials. Well, books for your library and books to hand out. Christina's got some great ones chosen for that to kind of go along with the theme. So keep that in mind. Jumpstart Read for the Record is an annual event. This year it's November 7th, which happens to be day 2 of the Read to Me Rendezvous. So I don't know how that'll work out, but we are providing the book Thank You Omu for each of you. It's on order. In the past, we've provided them for your partners too, but we have a lot of partners this year. So we're just providing you a hardcover book for your library. So the idea is to pledge how many kids you think you'll be able to read this book to, and just read the book to the kids and go on the website and say, I read the book to 30 kids. That's all you have to do. Super easy. And there's a toolkit with resources on the Jumpstart website. You don't have to participate in this. It's not required. It's a fun thing we like to support, and that's why we provide you with the book. Anybody that did this last year? Lynn's nodding.
We did it at a tribal school event that was like they had a lot of things for kids to do, like a jumpy house and stuff like that. So we didn't get a lot of attention, but we did read to just a few kids. So
Did you read to them while they were jumping?
no, but I have a question about the family reading week. When people partner and do their activity with the families at the same time, do they just do a section of it focusing on early literacy and kind of explain that? Or what does that look like?
From final reports, I've seen it several ways. Some libraries have invited those My First Books families to come early and kind of talk to them ahead of time. They kind of let them be the first at whatever they're doing. So maybe coming a half an hour early, opening up the library a little early just for those families if you're doing it at the library. And then some are doing centers, and so the information is being disseminated while they go through the centers. So that's another way. What else do you guys have? Those of you who, the main talking points, and I'll send these out in the cover letter too beforehand in the next month or so. Really, we just want the families to know how important access to books is for kids and learning how to read. It's so critical. We want them to know that you want to see them at the library, even if they have fines on their card that you're going to help take care of, whatever you need to do to get them there, that is so important. You really, really want to see those families come in to the library. And that there's early literacy skills that need to be developed before kids start school, and that those can be learned at the library. They can be learned by reading the bookworm. Those are kind of the three main areas. If you have them for a longer period of time and you can go over Sing, Talk, Read, Write, Play and do some activities, kind of more like what our Every Child Ready to Read workshops used to look like, that is great. But we know that kind of most of you are doing this on the fly. So if you can at least get those 3 talking points out, that's what we're really focused on.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you. Lisa says that Read for the Record is fun and they have a good turnout, and that she gets to go in and read as well. So it looks like that might be an extra day that Lisa goes out, not just for the distribution day. So fun event. Okay. If you have questions, now is a great time. If you have concerns, if you had some challenges with your partner last year, we want to reiterate that when you meet the first time with your partner, that they understand that your visit and your story time is not a prep time for them, that you're not allowed to be alone with their children, that they need to be in the room. If they need to run and use the restroom, that's fine, but that they need to be there. They're the ones that need to be dealing with the behavior issues and redirecting the children in that behavior, not you. That's the most challenging aspect. And when there are problems with this program, it's usually that the partners are leaving the kids unattended with you. So make sure that you do talk about that. Any other things that came up that you want to throw out there today? Okay, we're here. You can always call us. You can always email us. For our friends who will be watching the archived webinar of today's meeting, I always ask that you answer a kind of a question for me when you email me, tell me you've watched the archive. And what I will have you answer for this meeting is the title of the book that changed for May. So you can email me and tell me what that new title is instead of Tiki Tiki Tembo, and that'll be your code word. Okay, and for everybody, here's your next steps. We need you to contact your partners. We need you to meet with each one, go over that plan sheet. But even if you can confirm the number of children in each age group, even before you meet, that's great. Need to have those confirmation numbers by September 30th. But we're going to start packing your books up around the 15th of September. So if you can get those numbers confirmed before the 15th, your shipment is going to be more accurate, because otherwise we just can't get them to you for October if we wait too long. So get those numbers to us. I'll have an email you can just reply to and answer those questions about confirmation numbers, and get those to us just as soon as you can. And talk to your partner about if you're going to do Read for the Record. I want to invite you all to register for the Read to Me Rendezvous. Information is in the scoop and on our website. If you are not subscribed to the scoop, you need to subscribe to the scoop. That's where we tell you everything that's coming up. So if you're confused about that, give me a shout. We'll get you signed up right away. Debbie asked about the book title. It is Seven Blind Mice by Ed Young. Okay. I'm looking forward to working with all of you this year. I am grateful for Christina's co-coordination, and always grateful for how hard Tina works for the program, and grateful to you for all the great things that you do to get books in the hands of these kiddos. And I will be sending you an email on confirmation numbers. I think that's all we have for today, unless anyone has any questions. You can stay on. I'll stay here for a minute. If you want to stay, you can continue talking or chatting. If you need to take off, then thank you for giving me your time today, and I'll be communicating with you soon. You can hit leave meeting, or you can just X out.
Thanks, Stacy. Thanks, Christina and Tina.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.